Not a YouTuber, just like making videos. And today's topic is, where do black people, or should I say, where do African Americans come from? As they say, if you don't know where you're from, you damn sure don't know where you're going. So, where do we come from? And this has been a debate and the realms of social media amongst black people for quite a while now. There are those that say black people are from Israel. There are those that say black people are indigenous to the North American, or to the North and South American continents. And if you're like me, you believe that the majority of black people you see in North America and in the black community in the hoods and stuff, come from Africa, specifically West Africa. And I base my belief on the overabundance of information and evidence that is at my fingertips. Now the thing is with the white man, or with white people, they know where they come from. If you ask them, you say, hey, where do you come from? They'll say Europe. They can give you, the exact destination, without a DNA test, just going by their name. My family is German. My family's from Belgium. Family's from Italy, from Great Britain, and so forth. Now, I understand that reasons why a lot of black people are completely clueless about their roots is due to slavery and them, annihilating our history and annihilating our culture. So therefore, it leaves a void. And so therefore, we're going to try to fill it. And I understand that black people, we want to fill it with a history which there's no substance there or any tangible proof. Now, I know some black people like to romanticize about us not being African. We're intrigued by it. Maybe they lied to us and maybe we're from somewhere else, or maybe we're from right here in America. We are the original Native Americans. And there's a lot of blacks that believe this. Now, my thing is, if we was already here when the white man came, I don't think the white man is going to go through such great extent to orchestrate such an elaborate hoax as far as our history goes. Creating false documents and things of that nature. Just create this fictional history, and I'm like, this has to be the greatest magic trick in human history. Now, of course, I've drawn inspiration from this video because New Possibilities did a rebuttal against Conspiracy Theory Dude's video, why they created the African American, which Conspiracy Theory Dude, tries to push off this belief, this ideology, that, we us black people, we're indigenous, we're not from Africa, we're just a created concept, of the white man, or the imperial power. Sometimes when I say the white man, now I understand that's the most generic term, but let's say some imperial power, which some people can say, well, that's symbiotic with the white man anyway, and so forth. Now, one thing I'll agree with Conspiracy Theory Dude, that the mentality of the so-called African Americans, that's kind of like a now that's something that the white man has given us, or the imperial powers that's given us. I say that either you want to take on the culture of your ancestors or take on the culture they want you to have. I understand that this dysfunction, creating all these babies and not taking care of them. You know, so this hip hop music of black people just embracing poison and defending poison. You know, almost, and we do seem like we're displaced. Like, you know, so there's nowhere we can belong. And so that's kind of give us kind of like this mess. Some, not all of us. Some of us, this messed up mentality. I understand that. But as far as where black people physically from, yeah, we were, they had a slave trade. You know, they went and they got slaves and brought them over here to, you know what I'm saying, build them an empire, you know, to the quote unquote new world. You know, that's all, it's all documented and so forth. That's one thing I can say about these powers and so forth. Everything that they do, every bad thing they do, they jot it down somewhere, keep it in some sort of archives. That's the thing. I would say that the Europeans are definitely great record keepers. They keep records of a lot of of a lot of things, you know, and so forth. And even if we was indigenous to this continent, the colonizers would have came here and looked at us and said, and they would have said like, yeah, you guys were here before us, but you wasn't really doing anything. You didn't have any written language, and we established something. You know, that's the thing. Now, even if you believe that black people were indigenous to this continent, that we had things going for us before the white man came and he shackled us and tossed us in slavery and lied about our origins. Okay, well, what was black people eating? Did we eat corn? Did we live off the buffalo? When the white man demolished the buffalo, I'm like, that's the reason why we had to get on food stamps, because of a diminishing food supply. You know, I'm like, what was we doing? Was we building totem poles? Was we living in teepees? Was we doing what what we consider the traditional Native Americans? You know, we were doing rain dances and and so forth. What was our name? Do we have names like Arzak? You know, Running Bear, Spirit Eagle, Ghost Wolf. You know, Firewalker. Do we have these kind of names? What kind of culture do we have? See, all these people that say we're indigenous to the continent, and they say, okay, here's some pictures, you know, that we're the original Indians. Well, what culture did we have? You know, and why did it get wiped out? Why was it so weak that it just got trampled on and destroyed, and we never reclaimed it? So that's the thing is, so the white man are the imperialistic powers went and he colonized a lot of places, stepped on a lot of people, and you know, so a lot of people were at least able to regain something back. The Africans and the Indians over there in India, I could think about the Chinese people, you know. And I feel that if black people was indigenous to this continent, our situation would be just like the Aboriginals in Australia. Some people already say this, but why didn't the white men just lie to the Aboriginal people in Australia and say, hey, you guys are really from Africa, you know, and so you're not indigenous to this land? No, they know, the Tasmanian people and those people, they know that they're indigenous. That's why I call them Aboriginal and so forth. But they didn't care. They said, well, we made something out of it. You know what I'm saying? Things of the most value belong to those who are powerful enough to take it. About this about a year ago, and I called it "We Are African," and you know what I'm saying, and it was a rebuttal, a retort to these videos going about, you know, saying they lied to us, we're really indigenous, or we're from over here, or we're from over here. Look, I got pictures. Look at these pictures. You know, they'll find a picture of Richard Pryor and compare him to a picture of somebody, a so-called black man in New Guinea. You know, and so forth, and say, hey, you know what I mean, look how similar they look. We can't be African. The thing is, black people are you know what I'm saying, I'm like, we're hybrids, a lot of us are. You know, we're the product of, you know what I'm saying, so the white man created a whirlpool of swirling. I'm like, he's the original swirler. You know, these Europeans. Now, I'm trying to get away with just saying the white man, But these Europeans, these colonizers here, I'm like that. They're the original bastard child maker. So here in America, we're all black people. We're all in some ways bastard children. And the thing is, with this whole, we're gonna, picture pages, elementary school shit, let's match the pictures, let's match this one to that picture. One of these things don't belong here, so this Sesame Street shit, this pseudo-intellectual that's going on. If you say that, okay, we're not African, because look at how Richard Pryor looks, and look at how these other Africans look, or whatever. I'm just using Richard Pryor. This is not a stain on his name. I'm just using him as an example. And therefore, if I look at all these all those old slave photos and drawings of slaves, especially the photos, from the 1800s, back when they was first creating figuring out techniques to capture light, to create photos with what they call it, phenograph, the early photography. I should be able to see a bunch of people who kind of look like Richard Pryor, or look like so forth, look like Damon Wayans and or the Hodge twins or whatever. I should see that. You see what I mean? And things of that nature. And even when black people are a product of all this interbreeding, not just with the white men, but with the Mongoloids, the original Native Americans, and even the Chinese, that they brought the Chinese over here to build the railroads. A lot of our strong African features stayed intact. What I mean about shiny dark skin, our pearly white perfect teeth. I don't got that. I don't have that. The flat nose and so forth, the big hands. So a lot of that stayed intact. So I don't need to look at photos to say, oh, black people, I can look at a rap video, or I can watch a basketball game and just look at those black people and so forth. And then, make a connection there. But not just that, but body language and mannerisms and so forth. Even when I speak to the Africans, some of the Africans I see with the business and so forth, it's just, I don't know, I just some connection in my soul, and I'm part Native American. I've stated this before, but I've only came across only one of my Native American relatives, only one, and so forth. But Native Americans, if you look at the way that the Mongoloids, if you look at, they talk at a slow pace. They're everything about them is just different. I'm not saying that we didn't intermingle with them and so forth, but it's just, the way they talk, like, oh, the white man, he came from, this land overseas, and it's how they talk. But then when I see how black people talk and how Africans talk, even like I was talking to a black female that was from Africa, and she had horrible English, broken English. And she wanted directions. And the way she was, her body language, she was like, and she was smacking her lip, talking about, like that, and sucking her teeth like that. Yeah, I want, I'm saying, I couldn't, it's hard for me to communicate with her because we were speaking different language, but I'm just looking at her mannerism. And then I look at the clothes Africans wear, their traditional garbs, the color clash, I'm saying how they coordinate their colors, the bright oranges, the reds, and so forth, and then the turquoise, and then I look at the colors of how black people dress, even hip hop or whatever, them loud ass colors. So, but if you feel that you're not African and that you're from someplace else, that may be your own journey. Maybe you are. Now, maybe your ancestry goes back to the Venetian Islands, or the South Pacific Islands, the Dunlap tribe or whatever, or to New Guinea and so forth. That may be your own personal journey. But if you want to make such, these bold claims or whatever, back it up with something else besides pictures. And going into New Guinea, because people are using pictures of the so-called black people in New Guinea, they were never wrapped up in a slave trade. The British tried to colonize them, and they were able to defeat the British. So to sit up there and say that these other little islands that fought off slavery and say, hey, we come from there, that's an insult to them, because they was never wrapped up into it, because they gave the British or whoever was trying to enslave them a run for their money. That's all I want to say. And also, another reason why black people want to adapt another culture or whatever, because they feel that their culture, their African roots and culture is just inferior or primitive, you know what I'm saying, and they just want something more. But that's all I want to say. Thanks for watching. Never stop learning.